Hello and welcome to Film Slam Stream's post-film conversation for Hedgehog. My name is Eric Siler, and I'm an instructor of film, media arts, communications, as well as moderator for this conversation. We are very pleased to be joined by the director of Hedgehog, Mitry Gelfand, excuse me, Mitry. And Mitry is originally from Belarus, and he spent 17 years as a business person before he ventured over into the world of film. Since then, he's been making numerous films and won numerous awards and has traveled all over the world, showing everyone his wonderful talents of filmmaking. Hello, Mitry, and welcome.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
It's good to have you here as well, too. Sometimes we have some students that are studying Russian, and I understand you are fluent in Russian. Can you extend to them a special greeting in that language?
Absolutely. Здравствуйте, добро пожаловать. Очень рад вас видеть.
Well, thank you for that. Let's get right into this. Such a timely film. The war and between Ukraine and Russia is a little more than a year old and so forth. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to make this film? Did you think about this? As you heard about an impending war, give us a little bit of background information about this film.
Well, I actually wrote this film 2 weeks into the conflict without knowing how long it will take. I think none of us knew this was gonna drag on for as much it's already being dragged on. And for me, the inspiration is very special because I come from the region. I come from Belarus, and I found overnight that my family and friends on both sides of the conflict in Russia and in Ukraine became enemies. And I couldn't understand why overnight this would happen. The other part of the inspiration was absolutely amazing speech, which was actually done in Russian by the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, to Russian soldiers. It was a call to surrender for them, that they would be returned to their mothers and they would be treated not the way they're treated by their army. And in concert with my background and my family and friends, I was propelled to write this piece and then make it.
So give us a little bit of context to writing this piece. Were you actually abroad when you wrote this? Were you here in the States? Give us a little bit of context about how you had some inside information in writing this.
I was actually in New York, and I was so shocked. And obviously being in New York and being in the region are apples and oranges. It's two different things. And I guess it was subconsciously came up. The story almost came to me from the above, because the story is very simple, but it's about love. And I literally wrote this in 5 days. And then it was the matter of how am I going to make it, because I can't go to Ukraine, I can't go to Belarus, and I can't go anywhere outside of the States. And so the biggest challenge was, of course, is how do we recreate this here and how do we make it now?
And how did you do that?
You do need a little bit of luck and magic, and thankfully a friend of mine came to rescue it, an incredible production company based out of Maryland, in Ocean City, Maryland. I actually called him up and said that I was looking for props. I was looking for 2 guns, and he asked me why, and I said, well, I wrote this piece about Russian and Ukrainian conflict. And he was a weapons collector in addition to owning one of the biggest production companies in the Delmarva region. And so he said, send me the script. And he says, I have the weapons. I love the script. Get in the car. I'm going to fund your movie. And my wife, who's my producer, we got in the car, and this is where you have to take a leap of faith. And we just went there without knowing if this is going to happen. And while driving there, we started doing casting. So everything just happened so quickly.
That is amazing. So you actually shot this film in Maryland?
We shot this film in Maryland. We prepped for about 6 weeks or so, and we shot this film in 3.5 days.
You know, amazing, amazing. So, writing this film in 5 days, and it's just incredible. What were you trying to? What message were you trying to send with this film, or was there a message? Did you just want to leave it out there for the viewers to conclude?
Well, ultimately, of course, you have no choice but to leave it out for the viewers and to have them come up with their own feeling what this film is about. For me personally, this film is about our responsibility to be human to each other and the choices that we make once faced with the enemy.
Exactly, and also, right, and also is how the enemy is seen through different eyes and different lenses, how they are seen. So, it's just interesting the perspective that you wrote this from. Vera, the person who played Nina, the person who played Nina, did an outstanding job. Communicating her feelings towards the soldier and with her family and so forth. Really so well done. And how did you go about communicating that to Nina for being so young to communicate this feeling who, was the star of the film?
Well, to begin with, the film is not very dialogue-y. So
Right.
in fact, I think it has, my wife, I think she said it has only 22 or 29 lines. And so when I worked with Emma, who portrays Nina, we played this game where I did not want her to talk to me. I wanted her to talk to me with her eyes because when I saw her headshot, I looked at those eyes and I had this feeling, oh my God, please be good, because those eyes will speak to a lot of people. And to Emma's credit, I have to give her 100% credit. She's just so professional, so amazing, and she took direction so well. And we were able to pull that off because there is so much subtext in the film, and as you pointed out, it is done through her eyes.
It is. Um, so let's talk a little bit more about the story itself. We see, her parents go off and to fight in the war, and this injured soldier is on the property, and Emma is caring for the soldier along with the family, all that's going on. And all the while, as I was watching this, I was trying to decide who's the protagonist, who's the antagonist. And I still go back and forth. Now I'll just tell you who I think the antagonist is. The antagonist is maybe just war itself. Is that who you think the antagonist is? Or do you think, or is it the soldier, the parents?
Well, ultimately, ultimately, this is a very simple tale. I mean, it doesn't get more simple than this, but this is really what war does to the lives of people, and that there are no winners. From the technical standpoint, I believe it's actually a very nice place where you want to be cinematically, because you get the audience to decide who it is that they're rooting for. But ultimately, I think one may ask a question watching this: who is wrong here? Who is wrong out of all these characters? We understand the context of war, and we understand that Putin has no right to go into that country and invade that country. We know that. But in this context of this film, who is wrong?
Exactly. Who is wrong? And one thing I love about the film is the story is still being written. I mean, you can extend this. You can make this into a feature because the war is still going on. And who's to say, does the soldier have a change of heart? Or is he just using the family to get better? There's just so many directions it can go into. It's just that's why it was just so beautifully done, and having the absence of a lot of dialogue helped make it more emotional. You drew the audience sense. That was really well done in terms of that. The next question I have for you is in terms of the reception of this film. I know you've been screening it all around the world. Can you just give us a little bit of a highlight how this film has been received? Because the world is watching this conflict. So what have people been saying?
I was very curious how this film will be received because even though this is a pro-Ukrainian film, this is not an anti-Russian film. And so it was very curious for me what would be the reception. And we opened this film in Sedona International Film Festival this February, and I got to see for the first time this film in a movie theater full of strangers and see their reaction. And I think the best reaction that I've gotten is when people came up to me, just hugged me with tears in their eyes and said, keep on doing what you're doing and let's change the world. And I think really for me, that says it all. Love is the answer, and love and compassion is the answer. And again, writing this film, I never anticipated this going over a year. I thought this would be over in a few weeks, maximum in a month, but here we are.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's going to continue to go on as well too. Tell me this. Some people take films literally. Some people probably thought this was actually a true story. But have you come across anything in the news that reflects this film or closely reflects it?
I have not. News upset me a lot. And obviously preparing to do this film, I had to watch news on both sides. And it was, I haven't come across anything like this. In fact, if anything, I was a little bit afraid that the film would not be received the way it is received, and as a humanistic and a piece about love, because of the way I handled it. But again, my intention is to really show what war does to people, and there are no winners, and nobody gains as a result of war.
Exactly. The title Hedgehog, why did you call the film that?
The film actually is an allegorical story, and it has a lot of what they call Easter eggs in it. The biggest Easter egg, of course, is Hedgehog. Hedgehog, as you may know, is a tank stopper in the war. And in fact, it was used in World War II, and it continued to be used even in Ukrainian-Russian war against tanks. Incidentally, an animal hedgehog plays quite significant part in Russian and Ukrainian and Belarusian, for that matter, folklore. So the kids actually grow up learning fairy tales and stories about hedgehogs. So it sort of becomes this mystical animal. And somehow it was natural to incorporate this into the film, and the toy in the film becomes sort of like a floating signifier.
Very interesting. I'm glad you explained that. To make that connection. One thing about this film, sometimes, oftentimes, when there are conflicts throughout the world, films occur. And very rarely do we see independent films occur so quickly. we see the made-for-TV film or the documentary about it. And this is just really great that you were able to do something. You weren't looking to capitalize on this conflict. You just had this passion. Now that you've seen the success of this, are you going to continue in this direction, looking for conflicts, or do you just make films as the passion comes to you?
The truth is, I made $0, 0 cents making this film because I felt the need to tell the story. And to answer your question, I don't have a particular story in mind. I don't have a particular genre in mind, but I do have a requirement that the story has to speak to me, and I have to be able to transcend that feeling, because as a director, my job is to translate the text onto the screen, and I cannot do this successfully unless I feel for the story. And I think ultimately what viewers take out of watching films is the feeling. And for me, if I cannot personally levitate towards this feeling, creating any type of a story, I won't be able to be attached to the project, because I don't think I'll be able to do justice to the audiences that will be watching it.
Well said. So your feelings will change often as you receive more information. So today, if you had to add another scene to this film, what would that scene look like?
If I had carte blanche, and if I could take this film to the next level, what I would do is I would probably create an ontological story, something along the lines of Krzysztof Kieślowski's Dialogues, where there is 8 or 10 stories weaved in between each other. The story of war, that somewhere, maybe perhaps in Poland, or perhaps in Romania, where the immigrant stories, and where we through flashbacks and through current times, we're intertwined in the lives of people that have lost everything and that have gained something new, and how they deal with that.
Interesting, very interesting. I hope that happens. We will definitely be in for a treat. And the last couple minutes we have remaining, can you tell us what's next for you? I know you have upcoming festivals, but are you working on another project right now that we can see in the near future?
Well, I'm working on at least 3 or 4 projects right now. And, this is obviously very normal for indie filmmaker. You work on even 10 projects and you end up doing the 11th project that you don't even know about. But yeah, I'm working on 3 different projects right now, and all of them are in different stages. And now I was just approached to look at another project, which is in another stage. So yeah, I'm working on 3 or 4 different projects as I'm doing the festival tour for Hedgehog.
Well, great, great. And as you work on those projects, this film is not going to end as long as the conflict is there. This is just really so timely and so well done. It's a topic of conversation internationally, and people will continue to talk about it. Well, Dimitri, I wish you all the best with all your future projects and the continued success of screening this film. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you for having me.
And if you don't mind, can you say goodbye to our students that are studying Russian?
Всего доброго. До свидания. Спасибо.
And thank you to our audience for joining us for this important and invigorating conversation. For more information about upcoming film festivals, please visit clevelandfilm.org. I'm Eric Siler. Thank you.